It's February. Valentine's Day is almost here. Love is in the air. Annie,
Yes.
I had the most extraordinary experience.
I know.
While waiting for our guest, I went out to the lobby and I met for the first time ever Betty Kelly, whom I thought was our guest, and started talking to her about love. And she told me she was married for 59 years to the same guy.
Same guy, absolutely.
And I said, what's the secret? And can you tell our audience what you said?
Oh, absolutely. It's love. Love does it all.
59 years you're loving this guy?
Yeah, but I'm not liking him lots of times. And I think the same is the reverse. I know he doesn't like me. None of us are perfect. But love can make the difference.
Makes a difference.
Love shows forgiveness, and forgiveness is what we need in the world.
I totally agree with you. That is really beautiful. I am going to remember when I don't like my husband that I always, always love him.
Amen.
So thank you for that.
It's
right,
a two-way
Andy?
street, though. It's a two-way street.
It is a two-way street.
And what's even more remarkable is Betty and I traveled to Ireland together
Yeah.
probably 18 years ago.
Yeah, well, I think we were still living in
Yeah,
Falmouth, I
so
think.
it's-
18 years ago?
18 years
now,
ago.
you're not seeing each other for the first time since then.
Maybe the
A
third
couple times,
time.
yeah. But
Yeah.
it's
I
been a-
think we call that synchronicity when that
Right,
kind of thing
it's
happens.
amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back. I feel like singing, matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Cut! Why we're doing that is because we're here with Peggy Wallman, who is a real life matchmaker and dating coach, you said. Do you prefer to be called a dating coach?
No, both are fine.
Both are fine. Okay.
Fun.
So, love is in the air. How'd you meet your husband?
I met him. I was the executive director of the Armed Services YMCA out at the base, and I renovated their 1940 gym. Yeah, kind of cool. And he was an air traffic controller, and he was a triathlete at the time. And he would come into the gym, and he was a jerk. I was going to use a different word, but it's not good for TV.
Good.
And we actually disliked each other fervently for about a year.
Did you?
Oh,
Yes, it
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad. So it's interesting that we are together 23 years after starting with hate and ending with love.
Was there a turning point?
Yeah, there was. Sadly, both he and I shared a common sadness. We lost parents to cancer. So we became kind of a support group.
For each other.
Yeah, he was
I've
engaged.
heard it called a lot of things, but never a support
Well,
group.
he was engaged to someone else,
Oh.
so he was safe. Right? He was safe. So, but
So, Annie, heart was a heartbreaker.
I kind of did, yeah.
Well, I met my husband in the 70s. He had on a stunning green leisure suit.
Ew! Oh,
And that's what I said. And this curly hair, because his mom was a hairdresser and she decided to experiment on him. And he said, if you ever want to go to dinner and a movie, tell me. And I said, okay. We taught next to each other. And 2 weeks later, I went to dinner and a movie, and 39 years later, here we are. But not everybody gets to be as lucky as we are, right?
But it's not all luck.
Okay, well, tell us what you do, how you do it, how you got into it, everything.
Well, I'll insert my story quickly
Okay.
because I met my husband on an airplane. So that certainly sounds serendipitous.
Right. Yes.
But when I think back to the experience, I think of the kinds of things, and as you said, he didn't really have the appearance in 1960s, early 60s, that I thought I would be attracted to. But I was a little bit, and I did some what we would call today flirting by ordering a very sophisticated drink that I don't drink. And in those days, the drinks came where you had to mix them, and I didn't know how to prepare it. And so I asked him if he wouldn't mind fixing my drink for me. And then when I think, as I think about it years later, I realized that it was a combination of our interaction, that what you needed at the time that your husband gave you some kindness and compassion and sympathy was a much more mutual part of getting to know each other. I'm
Right.
not sure when you're, but something when he said, "Do you want to go to a dinner and a movie?" He might not have physically been what you thought you were looking for.
Oh, he was adorable.
But it's never one. It's
Right.
I don't think.
I
think
agree.
people usually, even girlfriends, guys who meet each other, you have a sort of something that gels
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something that doesn't.
Absolutely.
But
So
it is
then
fun
by the
to
time
hear
you
those
got off-
stories.
By the time you got off the plane, you were engaged?
No, but we were married that summer.
Wow.
That was November. We were
Oh.
married that summer.
That is a great story.
Yeah, fun. Well, they're all good stories. The fun book is How Did You Meet?
Oh,
Let's
right.
just all write that book.
Oh, absolutely. It would be
Right,
really, really good. So how did you get into this matchmaking
Well,
business?
I had been a theater director for about 30 years in Boston.
Wow.
Youth theater primarily, and I retired from a private school in Boston, and that didn't last long. And I'm always connecting people anyway, and I love meeting new people. And theater really is encouraging your actors to become believable, credible, create believable characters, be authentic. And my husband just coincidentally had a colleague from Harvard who had a friend who'd gone to Wellesley, and she owned a very successful matchmaking business in Denver, Colorado, and had written a book when she was at Harvard Business School on why 1,000 men don't call women back.
I love
that's-
that.
And I definitely urge anybody who's watching to go out and buy that book, and we give them to virtually everybody we meet, whether you're 30 or you're 90. And yes, we have had both a
90?
man and a woman
Oh,
separately
geez.
come to us who are 90. And
Wonderful.
so I would say the one small piece of that, because everybody I know right away always says, "What'd she say?" So it's a book, so I'm not going to summarize the book for you.
Right.
And you take away the fun of reading it, except to share a favorite small story
Yeah.
of mine, which is that a young man has decided to meet a woman on a blind date, and he has a terrible cold. So here we are.
Right.
Snowing,
Yeah.
and all of that is awful. And she comes and she's all dressed up, and we're sitting across from each other, and he right away says, "Oh, excuse me, so sorry. I know I shouldn't be here. Do you have a Kleenex? Oh, I shouldn't have come, but I just couldn't help it. You just look so fabulous, and I wanted to meet you so badly. Sorry, I probably shouldn't be here, but I hope you'll forgive me." And so the variety of responses that come from women in this situation, especially women that we all know who are young rising stars today, who are
Right.
confident and accomplished and beautiful and so much fun to be with, and but they have a lot going on in their lives. And so the variety of responses from, I'd love to meet you, but I have a big presentation tomorrow morning, and if there's one thing I cannot afford to be, it's
It's a
sick.
cold, right.
So I'm sorry, could we just postpone this night? And then another one who says, I have custody of my son every other weekend, and this is the weekend, and I just don't want to be sick with him. And you look great, but this just isn't going to work.
Okay.
And then there are many more, but there's the one who says, "Oh, wow, sounds like you could use a good hot cup of tea." So there's a lot in that about women and vulnerability and
Right.
weakness and all the kinds of things that maybe some women don't want to hear.
Right.
But there's also the piece of it that is the reminder that, and whether you are a man or a woman in that situation, to me that shows a kind of a generosity,
Mhm.
a kind of a person
Sure.
that you would want to be
Sure.
with.
Right.
And what men would say on first dates with so many of the women that they meet is I think the little nugget from the book is, She was so pretty, so successful, so accomplished. I had the most fun I've ever had in my life. I would hire her in a minute, but I don't want to marry her.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
That's
that's sort of the giving the cup of hot tea.
uh-huh, right.
They kind of go
Right.
together. So you're either thinking of yourself, your own life, and how that is going to fit in.
Right.
And seldom do people that we meet think about what they're bringing to the table and more about what they need
Right.
or want.
Or want,
Yeah,
right.
Oh, I want somebody this. Well, what do you bring to the table? Why would somebody want to be with you? Tell me.
Right.
Tell me about that.
So is that how you start when you have your first client? Do you meet in person? Do you talk on the phone? How do you do it?
We generally meet in person. Sometimes we meet on Skype because people are all over the country or sometimes international. So we'll meet over FaceTime or Skype. But most of our clients are from Boston, although there was a time when it was pretty balanced between New York and Boston because we had a lot of press in the New York Times.
Aha.
Which was a lot of
That's
fun.
great.
But, the Gray Lady is the Gray Lady, and that's a New York paper. It's
Uh-huh.
not a Boston paper.
Right.
So we were going to New York on an average of once or twice a month to meet people. And we've met some, I feel so privileged.
So how do you connect them?
Well, some of the connections, so I would say only probably 25%, I'm just sort of randomly throwing that out, are actual connections that we make versus really, for the women, this is more true, empowering them to become their own matchmakers and having them figure out how to be in the world in a different place, to re-enter the dating world if they've been divorced for a long time, widowed for a long time.
Right.
Being online is a must. It's the largest pool of
A
singles.
lot of people have fear around that, though. What do you think?
And a
really
lot of
understand-
different fears,
Well, and I
right.
respect them all, and you have to know what you're doing, as my husband says, and he does a lot of this with me now because it was much too much for me alone. And he says, "Don't try this at home," because you need some expert advice. You need to know about reverse Google searches. You need to know. You need to be able to authenticate, who people are that they say they are. An awful lot of people are on who are married. And I was invited to a really special time in my life with a very select number of matchmakers and coaches to Match.com in Dallas. And I got to hear and speak to them over a period of 5 days.
Oh, how interesting.
They
Fascinating.
hosted us. It was fascinating. And I really trust what they're doing, and I also feel a little bit privileged because if something doesn't feel right to me or doesn't feel right to my client, I can be on the phone in 10 seconds and it's done. I figure it out.
Okay.
Like the song, you have to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, take a deep breath, and start all over again. And you may not be old enough for that song, but
thanks.
that's really for a lot of people what this is about.
Sure.
It's a fresh
Sure.
start.
And it's so great that you're doing it because I think just to have a real life person to talk to at the same time that you're doing the online thing makes a really big difference.
Totally.
Tell us your best success story.
Ooh.
Like some people who
best.
met and they're married and they're
Okay,
happy.
a best. Well, I'll tell you a recent. It's hard to say best because they're all
They're all good.
They're
of
all
course.
wonderful in different ways. I mean, one of the very early ones, the New York Times, when she was 74 years old, she had never been online, even thinking about. She went online. She's a psychologist, a lovely woman, widowed. She went out with an attorney from Boston, and she came back in. As you said, the feedback is really important. So she came back in the next couple of days. She said, "It was nice. I was much less nervous than I thought I'd be. I thought he was very interesting. He just didn't have enough sense of humor for me. I need someone with a lot of sense of humor." So I said, "Is that it? Is that
Deal breaker?
The only thing,
Yeah.
the only thing about being together?" Oh, he's so interesting. He was very, very interesting. So I said, "So how about a second date if he asks you?" Because that's a must. First dates are so can be, and usually are for people, awkward. And it's
Right.
only on the second date, maybe, have an
Lighten up.
opportunity to get to know. So, oh, well, I don't know. And anyway, she decided to go on the second date. She calls us at like 8 o'clock the next morning. He has the most wonderful sense of humor, and we had the best time.
Because maybe he was a little nervous on the first, right?
Absolutely. So, 8 or 9 years later, or however many years we've been in this, they've been together. But I'll give you a recent one from this last year, just because it has to do with online and taking risks.
Yeah.
So this is a young woman, she was a physician in Boston, and not a lot of time to do online, and so in many cases, we help with that. We'll do the vetting
Uh-huh.
and send her some potential admirers, and then actually help them write emails, because even emailing
Oh, yeah.
is, you're not.
And you
the
can
goal
give the
here-
wrong impression.
Right.
Just
Right,
one
and-
word.
Exactly, and the goal is not to become a lifetime pen pal.
Right.
And that can happen,
Right.
and I call them non-productive email relationships. So there's only one way, you gotta meet. And so we do suggest coffee, some people prefer dinner, but we say daylight, coffee.
And you can get in and out. You don't have to spend
Right.
hours together.
And-
Yeah.
Exactly, and anyway, so this one woman had found someone I think she had found him, I don't remember if Richard or I had found him. And she was so attracted to his photo and to his profile. And she wrote him, and then she called us, and she said, do you think it'd be okay if I wrote him again? Because I haven't heard back from him. We said, absolutely, wait a couple of weeks and see. She waited, and then about a month later, she wrote us again. She said, I never heard from him.
Ah.
And I just can't believe it, but so what do you think? So we wrote what I thought was a really sweet email about how busy his dad and how some other piece of his profile that appealed to her, and asked him a question, which is a very important piece of an email.
Right, so they
If you
feel-
have
yeah,
family
to
or
answer, yeah.
friends, if you have children, if you don't ask them a question, they're not going to text you back, right?
Right.
So anyway, so it turned out I think that started in September. New Year's, he asked her to have coffee on New Year's Day. And she walks into this crowded place in Boston. She looks across. She just can't believe her heart's beating. Why would he even want to be with her? She just doesn't feel that she's nearly attractive enough for him. And, she's this accomplished physician. She's so lovely. They sit down. They were there for like all day.
Uh-huh.
And, they've been together ever since. So
Wow.
it just started with he didn't even have the time or the
To get
inclination
back to her?
even to get back to her, which you cannot always explain that. There are times in my life, I'm sure there are times in all of our lives, where, I really wanted to do that, and I didn't.
Right.
And it may not have been at that particular time for him, even though he was on Match, it didn't hold
He
the
wasn't
importance that it did for her.
But men, get back to the women. If you're going to take some of their time, at least get back to them one way or the other. That's
agree
what
with
I'm
that.
thinking.
Ghosting.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
called ghosting. It's really, and guys they just don't realize how hurtful it is. But women.
And vice versa.
And vice
too.
versa. When at the end of the day, it was so nice. What a wonderful time. Can't wait to see you again. Or I really look forward to seeing you again. Or I hope you'll be free again this month. All of it, and none of that is true. That you've already decided in your mind you don't want to see this person.
Right.
So what do you say?
I say it was a very nice meeting you. Bye-bye. That's what I think. I don't know. What can you say?
Well, I think that you can say that, and maybe you could add, I don't think it doesn't feel to me that we're the right match. I really want to wish you luck.
Well, I guess honesty would be nice, wouldn't it? I want to make a match. I want to make a match. Oh, actually, after the show, I want to talk to you about a friend I have in New York City who's 65. I want to discuss making a match there. But I want to make a match between you two because Annie's a justice of the
I
peace
know.
here in
Love that.
Falmouth, and you're
Yes.
living here full time now, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you have to get to know each other better.
I love that.
That would be so great.
It's fun. Before the show, she asked how I got into it.
Oh, yeah.
So my mom was a JP. And sometime around, so my teenage years, I was the last of 5 kids, and my teenage years were spent sitting in the car waiting for her to marry somebody. You know, I just went to so many weddings from 13 to 17. And sometimes I got invited and I could sit in the back row, but most times I was, you know, waiting for my mother to do the 20-minute nuptial.
yeah.
And I hated that, quite frankly. You know, whatever, just come on, let's
Yeah.
go, you know, teenager, right? And somewhere around my 50th year, I was feeling reminiscent, and I threw my application in honor of her to the governor. I said, geez, you know, my mom, it was something she loved to do, and it supported the family on some level. You know, it's not a lot of money, but it supported, and she just got such joy from it that maybe I should do it. So it took 7 years, because it's very difficult to become a JP.
Oh, is that right?
Very difficult.
Oh.
There are only so many Justice of the Peaces per capita. So in the town of Falmouth, there are only 6. So someone has to die or relinquish and for you to get a spot. And there were 35 people vying for the spot.
No
Oh,
kidding.
congratulations.
Well, no, it's actually, you know, because I'm a theater person, it was the year of gay marriage.
Oh.
And some people couldn't swear that they would do the state's justice
Oh.
of marrying same-sex couples.
Wow.
And I'm like, hey, I'm so in.
Right.
Love is love. Love is love.
Right.
Love is
Right.
love.
Love
I'm
is
good.
love.
So it's a 7-year appointment, and I'm very honored to do it.
And how far into the 7 years are you?
I think I'm in my 3rd year.
Okay.
162 weddings. So far.
Oh, that's so great.
And we're a destination location, which I didn't know. My mom maybe did 10, 15 a year. That's what I thought I was into.
Right. How many
And
do you do a year?
The elopements, the midweek weddings, it's incredible. I just married some friends of mine. I sold them a house a couple years ago. They got the house already, and I married them in their living room for Christmas.
Oh,
nice.
Nice.
But one of my
Romantic.
favorite weddings was these 2 men who met online in their late 30s, early 40s. And they did this amazing wedding in a hot air balloon.
Oh.
So they said, would you? Because so many people, I guess, had rejected the hot air balloon.
Oh.
So many JPs. And I said, I'm in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am so in. So we took off in this field up in, I think it was Pepperell, and we took off in this field, and I married them in the skies, and then the balloon master lowered us into their reception.
Oh, my.
It was so romantic.
That is,
so
love
And then
that.
I did another wedding this year, my first ever, where I went up, and I have to go up and I have to ask them separately, are you still, is this still your free will indeed? Are you're still
Yeah,
in?
yeah.
No one's forcing you, right?
Right.
And they looked so handsome. They were in their 40s, bride and groom, gorgeous. The outfits were incredible. They had 130 people at a garden wedding, and Pachelbel's canon starts, and they start to process down, and I hear yelping sort of from,
Yeah.
from the audience. They were completely bare naked.
Oh, no kidding.
So you know, I have my little book that I write the vows in.
Wait, who was bare naked?
The bride and
groom.
groom.
Because I thought you said the outfits were.
Oh,
Fabulous! I don't know. I'm standing there watching them walk down, going.
oh,
So
my.
so I have a book that I usually hold here for that wedding. I held it here.
That is a great concluding story, I have to tell you.
So it's been creative weddings.
Oh my.
That is very funny. And just a plug for your show that you're doing in Woods Hole.
Yes.
You're doing Love Letters.
Love Letters.
Oh, what could be better in
what could-
February than
Yes,
that?
February 9th and 10th at the Woods Hole Community Hall. I'm doing Love Letters with Bonnie Thorpe Fairbanks. She goes by Fairbanks on stage. And Jeff Johnson, who happened to have been childhood sweethearts. The show is
Isn't that
about
cute?
childhood sweethearts. So they have known each other all their lives. As a matter of fact, Jeff will say that her parents influenced much of his life because of
isn't
their
that nice?
yeah. So Jeff just moved back to Falmouth. They're in their 50s, and they are reading A.R. Gurney's Love Letters, which is very poignant about 2 kids, 3rd grade. They
Right.
met who wrote letters all their lives. So I have to say, I'm having a great time with rehearsals.
Hi.
Like
Brings you
Henry
to
James,
tears.
like Henry James and Edith Wharton.
Yes,
Right,
right.
right.
It's going to be amazing. So 9th and 10th, Woods Hole Community Hall. It's kind of a special event. Hope
That's
you can
great.
come.
Oh,
Everybody
wonderful.
go. Thank you so
Oh, you're
much.
welcome.
We have to talk after we get off the air because I have a few other
Yeah,
questions I want
right,
to ask you.
right.
But happy Valentine's Day, happy February. Our March show is just going to be a series of some highlights of the shows we've done in the past year, and we will be back live in April. Have a
Yay.
good winter.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.